I'm Ethan, I love muzzleloading. We've just finished up the Hoosier turkey season here. It's the last day. And unfortunately, we didn't bring anything in this year, but I did want to go through some of the gear and equipment and talk about what I'm wearing and what I'm doing here to go along with turkey hunting this year. The shotgun I'm using, we mentioned and featured in a load development video, but this is an original 19th century W. Scott & Son 14 gauge side-by-side. I believe it to be straight choked. We're using 65 grains of Schutzen 2F with a card, half a cushion wad that's been lubed, and then about 90 grains of number 4 shot on top of that with a card on top. My clothing for this season doesn't really match the period or the era of the muzzleloader, but I wanted to get out and wear some of my traditional 18th century clothing here, to wear it, to use it, and to better understand a little bit of what our ancestors wore and what they carried when they were hunting to sustain their families and really a fledgling country here in the eastern side of the United States. I used a few different calls this year for the season. Really had good success with all three, which I was really surprised at. We had some gobblers talking back and forth with each of them, but I just want to mention them here and show you. First I had this wingbone turkey call from Alex G on Instagram. I'll have his handle there on the screen for you to check out his page. This is a really neat just wingbone turkey call that he's put up, and he's had some ink drawing on here with his signature, you know, kind of adding to the turkey hunting motifs here for this call. The second call I picked up on the American Long Rifles forum. This is, I believe, a wingbone turkey call with a turned wood or horn cap here. This is a two-piece call. We can unscrew this because the parts are threaded together, and we have a really compact, really discreet almost turkey call that we can just throw in the pocket of our coat here and move along our way. Something I think is interesting about this call, and I think it's because it's so short, but it gives a much higher pitch call than some of the wingbone, especially the three-part wingbone calls do. So this is what this sounds like. In comparison to Alex's. So a much deeper call out of the three wingbone trumpet here than this two-part from Tim, but I just really liked the look of this. When he sent me some pictures of it, I just thought it was a neat thing to add. So it's definitely going to go in one of my turkey bags, just as all of these are. The third here is another wingbone turkey call. This is another three-parter. This is from Jerry Rice out of Georgia, and he's connected the three parts here with a section of rawhide that's been stitched together, and then it has a lanyard on it. So you saw us in the past couple days here wearing this around the neck as we walked through, and this is the call that we were using when we did bring those toms right in both days. So you know, kudos to Jerry that kind of lined up, I think, with how the turkeys were moving, but the call worked out really well, like I said, as all three have. So this is how this one sounds. Again, similar to the other wingbone turkey call, but I think some variety there. I don't know that it matters to the birds, but I did alternate the calls I was using in different locations to try to help myself. Obviously, it didn't do a whole lot to aid me here, but you know, it made me feel better, I think, mentally. You maybe noticed that I was carrying a pack. I really didn't need to carry a pack this whole weekend because I wasn't too far away from home. We're just about half a mile or so here through the woods. But I wanted to carry this to get a good idea and get a better idea of what this felt like to carry through the woods. So this is a bag patterned off of some of the continental United States military bags from the late 18th century. It's not there yet. It's not a perfect reproduction yet. I have a few things to do to it, but it is still pretty close, and we're working on getting it a little bit closer. So I was wearing this primarily just to carry water. We had a few pretty warm days here, but I didn't want to be carrying everything in my coat that I thought I needed in case I wanted to move away from the pack. Obviously, it's not camouflaged in any way, and that could have worked against me here for this season, but I still got a lot of information for myself out of carrying it here through the woods. So in here I was able to carry just kind of that sheet blind that we used later in the season. This is just something I picked up from the local hardware store, sporting goods store. Nothing real special about that. I use it for some other things here on the farm. So it's just kind of handy to have. And then in here, just from my other treks and things that I've done, I have a pair of wool gloves, which were good on chilly mornings. I have my kind of big Longhunter knife. I just keep this in this bag. Obviously, kind of wanted to use this, you know, to butcher a nice gobbler, but we didn't get to that point. But it's always good to carry a nice knife in your bag, maybe a little bit larger. Not that you need to, or historically it was even done, but it's just kind of something that I thought would be useful and it's not too heavy. I also have, I believe what they call a hawkbill knife in one of these pockets here. That's my other pocket. So this is a period little folding knife that just folds out. And I really just used this to clear some brush in the different spots that I was setting up in. If there was a twig or something or a sprout that was where I wanted to lay my feet and I didn't want to be kicking up any extra movement, I just lop that off real quick. I have a little leather bound period journal in here. And this kind of extra stuff isn't needed for a turkey hunt at all, but it's the kind of stuff that would have been carried in some capacity, so I wanted to still inject some of that into the hunt. And then I have a fire starting kit in here. So that's really light, those few items there, but they filled up the pack and when needed gave me a little extra padding. Traditionally, it would have been extra socks, extra shirts, you know, maybe a pair of moccasins or an extra pair of shoes to slip into at night if we were out for a long period of time. And then for water, I really wanted to test this in this capacity this season because I've been experimenting with just some other kind of more modern sustainment practices and things in my gear and equipment. But this is an MSR 10-liter water bag. It's overkill for what I was doing this season. You can hear there's just a little bit of water left in it. I filled it up about halfway and have just been drinking out of this a little bit, you know, through the entire season here. But, you know, just kind of wanted to get it out. This was an opportunity to test this in a capacity that I would want to be using it. And although it's not traditional, it folds up and fits really well into this pack and really provides some nice weight, you know, for some physical fitness and some exercise while I was out here looking for turkeys. Below that, I just have my white wool blanket. It's a really common and really typical color of wool blanket to have in the 18th century. Again, brought it along to get a feel for and test carrying this. It came in really handy just as a seat to keep my rear end off the damp, wet ground. It's tied with some semi-traditional, semi-period rope here, and then I've affixed it to my bag via the strap. So I was carrying it dangling underneath the bag, but traditionally it seems like a lot of these were carried up over the top flap, possibly to keep extra water or damage coming into the pack because it's not super weatherproof there. But I saw some discussion on how these were carried on the Progressive Rev War Reenactors Facebook group, and I wanted to kind of get out there and try that for myself here to see how well it worked and how well it would work for me. I have a few camps coming up this year, and this season really just provided a kind of a double dose for me to be able to turkey hunt and then test some of my personal equipment and things and make adjustments as I need to before I get farther and farther away from home here. Talking really quick about the clothes that I'm wearing, I'm still working on making this as accurate as I can, but I think we've made some significant steps from last year that I'm really happy about. I have a pair of Colonial buckle shoes on right now. The shoes themselves are from South Union Mills, and the buckles I picked up from Townsend's. This is not a period sock right now, but it's a comfortable sock for what we're at and what we're doing. None of the clothes or anything are sponsored. I've paid full price for everything, but just want to make that clarification. The pants I'm wearing are a natural linen long pant. They're different than the knickers that I've been wearing a lot, but as I kind of shift into and start acquiring and getting into more of an early to mid 19th century kit to go along with the shotgun and other things that we have here, I wanted to get out and experiment with these and test them out in the field. I've rolled up the cuffs because I wanted to test the different lengths here in the woods, but then also I wanted to get an idea of how these worked and how these felt in the woods with a higher up cuff. And a lot of the illustrations and documentation that we see, the pant cuff isn't as long, it doesn't go down to the ankle like we see in a lot of modern clothing. So I wanted to see how that would work with me here in the woods. I could have worn a pair of leggings this year, but I wanted to try without it just to see how things went and how it felt. And really, I didn't notice any issues. We worked our way through some ivy and then some, less than favorable terrain for this kind of clothing. But for my legs down, everything worked really well. On the top here, I have an undershirt from South Union Mills as well. It's a fairly accurate reproduction for the 18th century that gets quite a few good reviews in that regard. Underneath that, I have a green kind of mid-18th century waistcoat here from Romantically Bent that I picked up at the Kalamazoo Living History Show a couple years ago. On top of that, I'm wearing my Cobb Creek Merchants long coat here. It's also kind of a drab green. I'm working on sizing it a little bit better, doing some alterations to it myself to make it fit a little bit better than it does off the rack here. But really, as a durable hunting coat, I'm really pleased with how well it did for us this year. It was comfortable, it was warm, but not too warm, and really just kept us moving. And I think the long coat aspect really worked well for being on the ground so much this year turkey hunting. On top, I got my brown felt hat here. It's gone through its paces in the turkey season here because of the weather that we are sitting through, but it's really starting to get a nice aged look to it. It's not as even all the way around, and the temperature differences are leading to a nice natural fold and bend in this. So it's really starting to feel now, after a while, a natural, well-worn in fit for me. And then I'm wearing my knockoff Zenny Semi, as close as I can get right now, accurate glasses here to kind of complete the look. Again, it doesn't match the era of the shotgun that we're using. I'm working on getting into clothing and attire and things that will match this era of arms. But this is what I had, and I wanted to try and see how it would do out here in the field, not being kind of full modern camouflage. And really, it was just a lot of fun. It presented some challenges at times, but that's really good. And it kind of added some different flavor to the hunting trips that we're going on this year. I wanted to say too, really quick, ticks are a major concern right now for this part of the country, and I did not take that lightly. So before I went out into the woods this year, a couple weeks before really, I started treating everything that I'm wearing with permathin. I've had really good success with using permathin. I'm using the permathin, I think it's Sawyer Cells. It's in a yellow bottle. And this year I was out for 7 mornings in the woods and I have not found a tick on me yet. So it's not sponsored, not supported in any way. I just wanted to mention that because you don't want to take the diseases those ticks can carry lightly. They're major health issues associated with them. So when going out into the woods, make sure that you're doing what you can to protect yourself. When I get back inside, I strip down all my clothes outside. I leave my hunting clothes outside. And then I go in and I shower just to make sure that I am clean of any nasty disease-carrying ticks. So that's it. That's what I was carrying this year for turkey hunting season. I learned a lot. I'm going to be making some notes for next year and making some notes for some of the camps and treks that we're going to go on this year. As always, if you have an opportunity to get out, even if you're turkey hunting with a modern shotgun and you want to play with and test out some of your period gear, don't be afraid to put it on and go do it even just for a couple mornings. You're going to get a better idea of what you need to do to make your gear better and understand what works and what doesn't. I know I have, so I hope that this provides a little bit of insight for you into why and how I did the things that I was doing this year. Once again, I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. If you haven't checked out the hunting video for this year, I encourage you to do so. I enjoyed making it. It was a few weeks in the making here, making all of it happen. A little bit different for the channel here, but it was a lot of fun, and I'd appreciate some feedback on it. Let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.